Welcome to BoomerWorks, everyone. My name is Shira Lotzer. Happy to be your host this evening, joined by Michael Butera, our faithful volunteer, and most importantly, Mike Williams, who's the growth coach of Northern Virginia. He's a small business coach, and he is just excited to be with us tonight to talk about the difference between marketing and sales. Mike, please take it away.
I am excited. Thank you, Shira and Michael, for having me on. And as you mentioned, I'm Mike Williams. I own the growth coach of Northern Virginia, and I've been a business coach for about 7 years. And we're going to talk today about the difference between sales and marketing. And Shira, it's really near and dear to my heart because businesses start off, and because you have a business, I have a business, you start off and sometimes you're wearing all the hats. So you're a do-it-yourselfer, you're getting these things going. And as we think about some of the different things that we have to do, obviously sales and marketing are big blocks, are big things that we need to do. And it seems like sometimes we intertwine these things. And sometimes we talk about things in a marketing perspective and it's really sales and vice versa. And so today I want to talk a little bit about what marketing is, what sales is, and what some of those differences are, because there's definitely some differences, and also the purpose and how you can best use each of those. So we're going to go through that. And hopefully, we're going to look for people to get a better understanding, identify what they need from a marketing and a sales perspective, and how both of them can contribute to the growth of their business. So if that sounds okay, we'll get rolling.
Sounds great.
All right. So first off, what is marketing? It's a method of communicating the value of a product or service, and you're trying to positively impact sales. So it's impacting sales. And then in a nutshell, with sales, you're providing a product or service to fit a need. And the goal of sales is to identify features and benefits of an organization. And like I said, we're gonna take each of these separately and look at the different components of it. And then we'll identify what some of the differences are, and then give a feel for why both are important. I think for a lot of us, sometimes we may be a little better at one over the other. And but at the same time, we need to understand that we need both, and we need a skill set for both. So really identifying what they are and the differences. And if there is a need for a little help or support, we definitely want the folks out there to understand what that is and be able to get that help. So if we look at marketing and sales, marketing is a one-to-many, and it's educating people on what you do, your products and your services, to a point that they can go out and talk to others about your product or service. So it's one-to-many education, and you're looking for qualified leads and referrals. But when we talk about sales and selling, sales is about one to one. You've got a product or a service that you're wanting to educate someone on, and you're hoping that they're going to buy that product or service, or you're going to convert that lead to an actual customer. And so one is about one to many, and the other one is about one to one. We're educating in both instances, but in a different way. We're educating people on products and services that they can go out and talk about, and in the other one, we're looking at features and benefits, and we're looking to convert that lead or that referral to an actual client. So we'll talk first about marketing and what marketing looks like. And so the definition of marketing is here, and it says the action of promoting a business, its products or services. It can include networking, advertising, and marketing research. So, marketing is about promoting the business and using the different tools that are available to be able to promote your business. How does marketing promote growth? Well, it does help you with that big net. Shira and I talked a little bit about, marketing being, that net and casting that net out into the ocean to find those fish. And then sales is about getting those fish actually in the boat. So, when we talk about the marketing piece of it in that net, we do want to acquire new prospects and new clients and customers. It's about building your brand. It's about building relationships, and it's about building relationships with other business owners. It might be building relationships with clients, referral partners, and then again, the education. What's your business about? What's your why? What is the product or service? How do you help people? Why do you help people? And really educating companies about what you do and educating others about what you do. And hopefully you're doing that so well that other people can go out and talk about your business. And then the competitive edge piece, making sure that people understand what makes you unique, what makes you better, what makes you maybe different from your competition. So, education is always important, and being able to really decipher what makes you different and why you do what you do. Components of a marketing plan, obviously, you do need a strategy for what you're looking to do with your business and how you want to market it. You're going to want to have a vision and a mission with respect to your marketing. You need a marketing budget, so you want to have an idea of how much you can spend. And then there are specific activities and goals. And it's kind of interesting because when we think of marketing, a lot of times we think of the tools and we think of the stuff that we can do. But at first we need to understand, what's our strategy? What are we trying to do? Who's our client? Where are they? And how do we want to communicate with them? Are things that we want to build into that marketing strategy and that marketing plan. And you may want a marketing calendar of the events and activities, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. So key questions: who's my client? Where are they? What's their income, gender? Again, the location. What are you trying to communicate to your client? And how are you going to communicate to them? What's going to be the platform? What are going to be the tools? And you want to use the platform and the tools that are going to best catch the kind of fish that you're looking for. So you want to understand who your client is and communicate to them in a way that works for them. So that's really important. And so those are questions that you want to ask, whether you're going to do it yourself and market yourself and do those things, or whether you're going to pay someone to market for you. You need to understand who your client is and all of these different things that we mentioned. And you can have that conversation with a marketing firm, or if you're going to do it internally yourself, understanding that first and then building that strategy and building that plan.
So Mike, could you maybe give us an example? So could you pick because I know you do a lot of coaching of small businesses. Could you
Yep.
pick an example, a type of business, and maybe the business that targets a certain kind of client, maybe income level, age, and they're located in a certain place. And then maybe your client said, okay, well, here's kind of my messaging to that audience. And here are some of the platforms or tools I'm going to use to reach that audience, because this is the way that they need to be reached. Can you give us maybe a sample of that?
Sure. So, and we're going to talk about some of the tools, and we'll get into that as well, Shira. But yeah, if for instance you're a plumber and you're working primarily residential, you may do a little bit of commercial as well. But you want to identify: are you talking with clients that are across the state of Virginia or across the state of Maryland? Or are you looking for just a particular geography? Maybe it's Fairfax, maybe it's Woodbridge. And then how are you gonna communicate to them? The type of client that you're looking for in a particular neighborhood. Are you thinking perhaps that you're going to generate door hangers and put door hangers out to talk about your services and what you do in that particular area? Or are you a part of a chamber of commerce and you want to source the chamber and find out all of the different B2B businesses that you could help, then maybe you want to put together a digital platform and market to them that way. And we're going to talk about some of the specific platforms and the specific tools, but that's a great point here where you know, different clients are looking for different things, and different businesses communicate in different ways. So you need to understand that, and you're going to want to know who your client is, and then figure out, is it going to be, a digital social media marketing kind of a thing? Are you going to be meeting face to face? What are going to be some of the tools? What are going to be some of the things that you're going to use? And we're going to talk about some of those things. So,
Yeah.
before you leave, we're going to give you some of those items.
And I know that we also have people on the call who are consultants, for example, right? So maybe
Absolutely.
they're going to be selling to other businesses. And I know there's another consultant out there, a guy named David A. Fields. I talk about him a lot, and he has an expression that says "fish where the fish are."
That's
Right.
right.
So you
That's
gotta
right.
you gotta know where your fish are swimming. Do they belong to associations? Do they read certain publications? Do they watch certain social media channels? Right. You got to kind of see where they
Absolutely.
are and then go message to them there.
The better you know your fish, then you can figure out what kind of tools and what kind of programs that you want to be able to communicate. Again, educate to them, and really understand what their needs are and provide those resources. And so we talk about platforms here. Here are just a few of very many platforms that are out there. LinkedIn is primarily a B2B platform, but you can use that in a lot of different ways. You can
And
you
when we
can
say B2B, we mean business to business.
business to business, and then you've got B2C. Working with, maybe you might have retail, or you're working with a non-business type of client,
Business,
but
business to consumer.
business to consumer, exactly. And so you've got B2B, you've got B2C. And so understanding that, are you primarily working B2B, B2C? Are you doing a little bit of both? LinkedIn is primarily business to business. I use it for blogging. I use it for newsletters. I do some videos and post some videos there. Facebook can be a little bit of both, and you can do Facebook ads. There's a lot more B2C, but there's certainly some B2B out there. I have a Facebook group, and it's primarily B2B, but you could also have a Facebook group that's B2C. If you were selling products or services and you wanted to put together a group, maybe for a specific group, might be moms and you're selling makeup or something like that, and you might have a Facebook group that provides that information and those kinds of things.
And
And then you've got Google ads and different things like that. Shira, were you going to say
yeah, I
something?
was going to say, but if just for anybody here who's trying to sell to the government, which we call B2G,
Yep.
that none of this would be appropriate, actually. This is not how you reach the government, whether it's international, federal, state, or local. There's an entirely different process for that, which we're not going to get into today. Not our expertise. That has to do with the procurement process and response to proposals. There's a whole other art and science to that. So we're talking specifically about selling to businesses or selling to consumers.
Exactly. And you're absolutely right in that. Now, can you tap some government agencies that work with the government through maybe like a LinkedIn or something like that? Yeah, but that's not going to be a direct source for you. But there's certainly a lot of agencies and businesses that are out there, that maybe you are communicating to them. Maybe you could do some of that. But you're right, that if you're looking for direct access, there's other avenues. There are more direct avenues for that. Instagram and TikTok, lots of videos, lots of reels and stories, and a lot of that is more around brand building, and really promoting your brand, either as an individual, as a company, and utilizing those. And so I just wanted to give you just a few examples here. And if you're not sure what might work for you, you may want to get out on these platforms, set up a profile, and work a little bit, and see how that works for you. Don't be overwhelmed by all the social media out there. You can start with one or two, see how they might work for your client. Remember, think back to, who is your client? What kind of business are you looking for? And where are those fish? And then start looking at the platforms and seeing if there's a great opportunity for you with that. Some additional tools, again, the blogs, the posts, the newsletters, videos, a lot of different ways to go with those. You can do, instructional videos on some of your products or services. You could do an interview of someone or a client that you've had that's used your product or service. And you can do some reality videos. People have summarized, what they're doing and how they're doing it, how their product works, those kinds of things. Pictures, graphics are great. If you're like a painter, for example, before, after pictures are great. So those kinds of things work really well. And when we think about social media, people are so busy, videos are becoming pretty strong as you look at maybe newsletters and blogs. People still look at blogs and newsletters, but videos are a lot more powerful because you can pack a lot in 30 seconds, 1 or 2 minutes, and people are willing to look at those versus reading like a long blog or something like that.
And
So
I just want to emphasize what you just said, what you said quickly. You said 30 seconds, 1 to 2 minutes. That's actually a very important point because people don't typically watch videos for longer than about 2 minutes. They might hang on a little bit longer, but
yeah.
you can't be a 5, 10, 15-minute video. This is not a TED Talk. When
Right.
people are on social, they're expecting to click on, watch quickly, and move on to the next thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for my business, I use videos. I'll talk about sales or business management. I'll do some tips. And again, like you said, Shira, it's going to be 2 minutes or less. I'll do a tip on something, and that's a way to educate people on what I do and how I do it, how I might be able to help someone and provide them some tools. And maybe they reach out to me, maybe they don't. Maybe they use the tool, the service, and maybe down the road they tell someone else about it, or maybe down the road I end up working with a client. I've had clients before that have found me on LinkedIn, started watching my Thursday talk where I'm interviewing people, and I'm also doing tips. So every other week I'm doing tips. On opposite weeks I'm doing interviews. So that's another way that you can use video is, maybe a tip, maybe something instructional, or maybe an interview about someone else and how they've used your product or service, or maybe you're interviewing them about their product or service. And here is an example of a Thursday talk of mine. And this is another business, Brittany Vinay. She is promoting her Vinay Virtual, and she helps with websites and different things like that. But I can let her tell you. Do we have time, Shira, to watch?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, let's go ahead and
Okay.
watch it.
Let's take a quick peek. Hi, I'm Mike Williams, the Growth Coach of Northern Virginia, and welcome to Thursday Talk. I'm here with Brittany Vinay of Vinay Virtual. Brittany, tell us a little bit about your business.
Hi, Mike. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you today.
Me too.
Yes, I'm Brittany of Vinay Virtual, and I am a web and brand designer for awesome service-based entrepreneurs. So I take many entrepreneurs who are new in their business, and I help them curate a brand experience for their clients. And I do that by designing their websites, creating the aesthetic for their brands, and making them look really good.
Now, who are your primary clients?
So my clients are, a lot of them are 9-to-5ers.
Okay.
Just starting their business, and they really don't have all the time to deep dive into what should my brand look like, what should my brand feel like. And so I help them to curate that experience to save them that time, and they can focus on you know, their business, of course, their business, but their family, their 9 to 5, and whatever other priorities that they have, so that they can hopefully set that quit day, which many of my clients do.
Right, right. There's lots of things that business owners are looking at, and if you can take some of that off their plate, that's great. Now, you mentioned a couple of things, but what are some other ways that you support your clients?
So not just with the aesthetic of their brand, but I help them develop the core of their brand, which is the personality, as I like to call it, the heart of their brand.
Yeah.
And so I always say I do not build superficial brands. And so people are like, what does that mean? It means that I build authentic brands, as my shirt says. And so what I help my clients to do is discover who their target audience is, that client avatar.
Yep.
So that we know how to appeal to them, how to speak to them in their language. And then one of my favorite parts, besides the design aspect, is helping them to develop their systems, because that's a part of their brand experience. So I really help my clients, like kind of this 360 brand development.
It's so, so important. And so, Brittany, if there's somebody out there thinking that they want to do business with you, what should they consider? You have any tips for them?
Yes, absolutely. Consider what it is that you're doing. Think about who that you're serving and why you're serving them. Because when you come to me, I'm going to ask you these questions. You know, what is it that you do? Who do you do it for? Do we need to really deep dive into that? Because a lot of the times we do. Because when I'm translating that through your design, I need it to make sense. Because if it doesn't make sense to me, it's not going to make sense to your target audience. And another thing is to think about getting things done like your brand photos, because I'm going to ask for that. Think about, you know, different platforms that you might like or dislike, and things that we can incorporate into your brand.
Now, Brittany, where can potential clients find you?
You can find me everywhere on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. I even stop, but I don't post that much, but so you can find me on socials at Vinay Virtual.
All right. This is Brittany Vinay Virtual. I'm Mike Williams, growth coach in Northern Virginia. Brittany, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Everybody have a great week. So that's it in a nutshell.
And it occurred to me, Mike, that I know you kind of randomly picked a post, but that particular post I think would very much appeal to our BoomerWorks audience, right? So she might actually be somebody that BoomerWorks folks might want to connect with. So I don't know if you want to put it in the chat, her information, or we can do that a little bit later. We can get that to folks, but I think that she might be a really good resource.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I don't know what I did here to hop out, but let me get back in here. Yeah, that was a good video to pick for a couple of different reasons. You know, number one, Brittany is reinforcing some of what we talked about for sure with building your brand and working through that. There we go. Okay. So there's a lot of ways that I use this video. Obviously, again, Brittany reinforces what she does in building brands, and she works with she even works with people on their websites and those kinds of things. And you can tell that we got to try to move Brittany out of her shell and get her a little more bubbly if we can. But that's you know, that's reinforcing what we're talking about now, marketing and social media tools. You can see that the video, it promotes Brittany and what she does. So it promotes the folks that I have on there, but I'm also communicating to people that are following me, and they're getting to know me as I'm interviewing folks. But I'm also providing a resource for people so that if they do see that 2-minute video, and they say, well, who was that person that talked about websites and building brands? And I often get that from people. I'll get an email, or I'll get a message from LinkedIn or on Facebook about someone that we did a video with, or I did a video with. And you know that I did a couple videos with you, and we had one come out today, just talking about what you do. We do want to promote and be a resource and help businesses and other folks out there. We also want to build our brands. And so whoever's working with me, if I'm talking with you, Shira, on the video, or I'm talking with Brittany, it's helping both of us. But on many different levels, it's a way to communicate to others out there, other businesses in this particular instance. But you could also, if you have other consumers, clients that you're working with out there. So definitely, when you start thinking about marketing, even just a little 30-second or 1-minute video that talks about your why, or talks about, what makes you unique, different, would be beneficial. And it's a way, again, to communicate. And then some other, we talked about social media tools. You might monthly or quarterly plan of events and activities. We talk a lot about the actions and the tactics, but we want to start with, like I mentioned, the strategy and the plan first, and identifying who our client is. And then we talk about those activities. And you can look at, like we said, a 6 to 12 month marketing calendar. If you're doing promotions, whether you're doing bundling or limited time offers or coupons, and you say, wow, I don't really do those kinds of things. Maybe you don't, but maybe you become a part of an organization, maybe a chamber of commerce, and you go to that chamber of commerce and you say, hey, I want to provide 5% off to all the members of the chamber. Can you help me do that? And chambers might say, well, yeah, we have access to every member. So you put together a sheet on what you want to promote, and we'll blast it out to everybody. So those are ways you can do that. You want to sponsor events and activities for different organizations. And again, maybe you're just starting out and you don't have money to sponsor a complete, say a golf event or something like that. But maybe you can provide, a nice pin with your logo and your name on it, or maybe you can provide, a notepad or something like that. There's lots of ways to contribute, and so those are ways. Or you might pay a small fee and you get to stand up and promote your business. You might get 5 minutes to promote your business. So there's a lot of different ways to do it and utilize those tools. This is just an example of a marketing calendar, and this is a 6-month. You could do it by month, you could do it by quarter. I like to have my clients look at something like this. It doesn't have to be so pretty, but what it does is, a lot of times when you put this together like this, you see that maybe you're doing more than you thought you were doing. Maybe you're putting money in certain places and you didn't realize how much. And when you put something together like this, it paints a picture of all the activities, and you can see where your money's being spent. So it's a great tool. It's a great reference. It's a great way to see how you're spending your time from a marketing perspective.
And also on a logistical note, I know this is very small print. So we will have this PowerPoint on our website. If you go to BoomerWorks.org and go to the training center tab and drop down to marketing your business, first you'll see the video. We have a lot of videos on there. This will be one of them. And at the very bottom of that page, we have a section called downloads. And this PowerPoint will be in the download section.
Perfect. And yeah, if you can't see it, hopefully you can see it, but you can just see some of the different events and activities. I've got everything there from coupons and promotions to different networking events, just to kind of keep track of where I'm at, what I'm doing, and how I'm doing it. And like I said, I've talked with clients that say, yeah, I don't do a whole lot of marketing. And then when we do this exercise, they say, oh yeah, I guess I'm doing a lot more than I thought. And they may also say, well, I'm spending a lot more than I thought. So you want to make sure that you're investing in the right places. And if you need to shift, this gives you a picture of what you're doing and where most of your time or your energy or your money is being spent. So let's talk a little bit about sales. And so the definition of sales: exchanging of a product for service or money, the action of selling something. And if you remember, we said that sales is one-to-one, and it's features and benefits versus the marketing, which is one-to-many. So we're going to talk about sales and how that works and what that looks like. So what selling is: providing a great product or service. You're fulfilling a need, you're solving a problem. And really, that's kind of how you want to think about it. Really, really good salespeople are problem solvers. Really, really good salespeople are looking to build relationships because they're looking for more of a consultation kind of approach, and less of a transactional, because a transactional approach is kind of, often it's a one-time thing, and really good salespeople have to get to know their client to understand what their needs are. And so in getting to know that client, hopefully there's going to be some trust there. And so I want you to think problem solver and building those relationships, not so much convincing people and really trying to push somebody into doing something that you want them to do, because that's really not sales. And I know a lot of people think that that's what selling is if I can influence and convince somebody, but it's really solving problems and meeting needs. And so the consultative versus transactional: again, you're building relationships, you're helping people, you're being genuine, you're being a resource. And you really can't do that without asking the right kinds of questions for people. First off, understanding who they are, finding out a little bit about their journey and what they're looking for. And then you're finding out about their business and what their problem might be, or what kind of service they might need. And instead of really trying to sell something and bring that product or service out right away, maybe understanding what's going on and what kind of issues your potential client might have, and then pulling the right tool out of your box to solve that need, versus just trying to provide all the different products and services that you have and hoping that something's going to stick with the client or the customer. That is just not selling. And that's, selling's near and dear to my heart, because I know what it is and I know what it's not. And I know that when you say you're in sales, people immediately kind of start thinking about, the used car salesperson or the vacuum cleaner salesperson. And that's not sales at all.
So Mike, what I'm hearing you say is that it's really all about listening, right?
You know what? And it's interesting, right? Because, salespeople have to be really good listeners. And when you are looking to build that relationship, the first couple of steps within the sales process, you actually want to do less talking. And it's hard for salespeople to stop talking sometimes, but when you're listening, you learn so much more.
And that also means you have to ask good questions.
You have to ask great questions. Mm-hmm. You have to ask questions that are better than your competitor. And you really want to understand that client and really understand what their needs are. Yeah. So if you can do that, you're going to have better relationships. You're going to have clients that are going to work with you longer. They're probably going to buy more products and services from you. And they're probably going to help market you. They're going to tell other people how great you are. So you're going to have better client experiences, better reviews, probably more referrals, probably more business. So think relationship, think helping people, think about being genuine, think about being a real resource to folks. When you're talking about sales, I mentioned there's a process. You want to have a vision. What are you trying to sell? What's the purpose? And then the mission. how are you going to do this? How are you going to sell? What kind of tools? What are you going to do? And then when you think about your sales goals, you may have revenue numbers, you may have unit sales that you're looking for, but you want some smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. Some are going to be short term, and for me, short term is maybe 12 months or less. And then when you talk about long term, long term used to be 5-10 years out. Long term is more like 3 to 5 years now. So you want to have a vision for your sales, your mission, your goals. You want a complete plan. Mention the goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. So you're saying, I want to do this thing by this date. I want to grow my business X% by this time frame. So we want to make sure we know specifically what it is. We can measure it. Is it achievable or not? We want it to be realistic. We don't want that goal so far out there that you can't achieve it, but we don't want it so short that that you're sandbagging and it's easy to achieve. It's got to be relevant to where you're going, which means it has to be relevant to your overall vision and business plan. And you're going to anchor it to a time period. I'm going to do it by this date. Okay. Questions, comments around that? Anybody? Everybody good? Great. Okay. And so there's a process to selling. A lot of times people say, well, like Shira said, you want to be a good listener. People say, oh, you got to have that gift the gab. And, it's something that you're born with. Well, there may be some things that are inherent to working with people, but there's also a process to selling. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about that sales process. Each step is important in the selling process and really understanding where you are and what you're doing. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and the key components. And, the more you work through the steps deliberately, the better you set yourself up for success. And so with me and with the growth coach, I use a 4-step approach, and the acronym is READ, READ. The first step is relating to the client. Remember, understanding who the client is, their journey, their walk. What are they, why are they talking to you? What are their concerns? How did they get into business? Just kind of understanding them. And then establishing the need. You're going to be asking questions around what their potential needs might be. It could be it could be a service, it could be a product or something like that. When you're advancing a tailored solution, you've gotten all your questions out and answered, and you're going back and you're preparing a solution for the client. And that's where you're putting together your proposal. That's where you might be putting together your presentation. And you're aligning that proposal and presentation to specifically meet the needs of the client as they told them to you. And so you want to understand that before you come back to talk with them. And then when you talk with them, you're going to validate those concerns. And then you're going to present your solution to their problem. And then when you develop the commitment, that's where you're closing and you're asking for the business. And if you are tying, what you do and your products and services directly to the needs that they've asked, then you're really shoring up that opportunity for yourself. If something changes in the process, or there's some pushback, or they're not ready to buy for you, then you want to uncover why. And that may take you back to step 2. It might take you back to to step 3, but you really want to understand those kinds of things. If clients have objections, and a lot of times clients do have objections. I typically, when somebody's trying to sell me something, I've got questions, and but as a salesperson, you want to understand what the questions or concerns are, and you want to understand that if you can answer those questions, if you can provide the resources there, can you move forward? What are some things that we need to do next? And really understanding that.
And may I also interject here, Mike, that you might even have a client that you've been working with who might have another need that you can supply, right? Because none of us are kind of, one note people, right? We've got lots of skill sets that we can use to offer to somebody. And of course, once a client knows you, likes you, and trusts you, they will want to keep working with you. In fact, they would love it for you to be their one-stop shop in whatever the thing is that you're offering, right? And I know that for myself, and I'll just give a quick example. I've shared this, I think, in the past, but it's an example that's, I think, pretty poignant. I happen to be one of those people that has what I call multiple lanes to my highway. I offer lots of things to my clients, right? And all typically having to do with something in the hiring or coaching or people-oriented workforce kind of issues. And so there was this one time, it was last year, I was working with a client, and one of my lanes is outplacement. Outplacement meaning if an employer has to downsize some employees, they might hire me to coach those people, right? The employer will pay me to do some coaching of the person to help them find a job. So there's this one company, and I was doing that successfully with them for a number of people. And I was having a conversation with the COO one day. And in the course of the conversation, I said, "Oh, David," I said, and because he was sharing with me some other problem he had very organically. I said, "Oh, well, of course, I'm a recruiter and I'm a executive coach." He goes, "Wait, what? You're a what? Huh, what?" And he jokingly and not so jokingly slapped me on the hand. He goes, "Shira, you didn't tell me these other things that you do. I could have been working with you. I have needs in these other areas." And he yelled at me, like jokingly, but he yelled at me. He's like, "How could you hide yourself from me?" I'm so sorry. So it ended up being he had a need, and I ended up starting to do leadership coaching with one of his employees, but he didn't know that I even offered that, because here I am not trying to oversell anything. And yet he had a legitimate need, and I was denying him the blessing, right, of working with someone who could help him. And so I just encourage you, as you're talking to your clients, it's not about you, it's about them. They have needs. You could be the one to solve them, and they need to know what you have to offer so that they can take advantage of it. But that means you've got to be doing a lot of listening, a lot of asking questions, and then be prepared to share with them and say, "Yes, I can actually help you solve that problem."
Yeah, and that's what's worse than, finding out. You say that you talk to a client and they say they're working with somebody doing something, and you say, well, I provide that
I
result.
could have done that, but they didn't know.
Why didn't you tell me?
Right.
And we do talk ourselves out of it, because we'll say, well, I don't want to be pushy and I've got business with them. I don't want to, but you should be constantly talking with your clients and potential clients about things that you do. They can always say, I don't need that service. And you can say, listen, I'm just sharing these other things with you in case either you need that or somebody that needs those services. They'll tell you if you're doing that too much, but I'm telling you, it's not great when somebody tells you they're working with somebody else and they're like, man, I wish I would have loved to work with you on that. I didn't know you sold that, or I didn't know you had that service. So don't talk yourself out of that. Well, I don't want to be pushy. You just let them know all, the services, and
In a kind way. You don't have to be pushy. You're not forcing them. You're just offering them. You're just letting them know, here's what I do. Here's how I can help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so with sales, you definitely want to have a plan. There are process steps. For me, I use READ. When I was at Coca-Cola, there was a 6-step selling process. So there's lots of different steps out there, but they all start with building that relationship and understanding the need, and they all end with closing the business. And you really want to understand those different steps and just work through them. Get the answers to your questions, have great conversations, listen. Don't be in such a hurry to work through each of the steps so you can hurry up and get to the close, because if you're more deliberate and you do a great job with the questions, then the close part is going to be easier for you. If you rush it, then you might miss a step, and it might take more time and it might take more meetings. So make sure you work yourself through.
And you have a question? You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. My problem is that I go on and on forever, and they seem to want to take advantage of me forever. And how do I make that switch from educating to the meter ticking?
Educating to the media. Well, you
And
definitely.
let me just mention, I'm in a very new field, so it does take some real educating for people to understand why they might need my services. So I'm conscious that I need to do enough educating that they really understand how I can address their need. But then the trick is that they seem to keep wanting more education, but then that I'm doing that for free, and that's not working in terms of my making a business out of my being a living out of what my skills are.
Mike, would you mind if I address that, or do you want to go ahead first?
Go ahead.
Okay, great. So Anne, I was invite you to consider at what, and you need to know this for yourself, okay? At what point is there a difference between the education and actually offering them intellectual property? Only you can know that. And when you hit that line, or when you're nearing that line, what you're going to want to do is say to the client, to the prospective client at this point, say, look, so-and-so, it has been just terrific, engaging with you and talking with you about this kind of thing. It seems like we're starting to enter an area where we may want to formalize our relationship. What I'd like to invite you to consider is possibly having me actually do a formal engagement with you. And can we discuss what that might look like? In fact, as I've been talking to you, Mr. Client, it sounds to me like your needs are A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Would you like me to do a proposal? Maybe we can talk about what kind of fee structure might work for you. Would that be something that you'd be open to considering? So you sort of gently kind of lead them in and say, what we've been doing is we've been having an informal conversation, but now we'd like to formalize. It's a very gentle, elegant way of saying, you got to start paying me.
Right.
Yeah.
Informal versus formal.
Yeah, and that happens sometimes if you're providing, say, samples, or you're doing a test of something, and then people like that, and you sometimes get folks that want to nibble at you for free stuff. And as Shira mentioned, you've got to start talking about your product and service, and gently suggest that, maybe we need to look at a program or an activity. Let me show you some of what I do, and let me put something together for you, and work it that way. Something else that might help you so that you're going down the right road is, when you prepare for that meeting, understand yourself, what is your best action commitment out of that meeting? What do you want out of that meeting? And if you can't get that, then what's the minimum commitment that you can get out of that meeting? So you're going into that meeting saying, okay, I'd like to get the business. I'd like to get a contract signed. And if I can't get a contract signed, then I want another meeting, or I want a test. But, when people talk about, free stuff, you want to be really clear about, what you are willing to do to give them a peek under the tent, and really your services and products, because, you put a lot of time and effort in what you do, and you don't want to discount yourself. And, you don't want to continue down that road where you're not being paid for what you're worth and what you're doing.
Yeah, the client is a large multinational company, and they want the moon. It's really a very unrealistic goal that the people that are involved do not understand what they want. And so I'm trying to get them to the point where we can fashion a reasonable, realistic piece of the huge unrealistic project they want to deal with. And that's my challenge.
Well, that's not uncommon. Everybody wants a whole bunch for next to nothing. I mean, I want that too. But I mean, you've got to level set them on reality. And if they are a big business, then they certainly know how business works. They don't give anything away for free, I'm sure. Yeah. So, don't be shy about sharing. Hey, you're in business. I'm in business too.
And also walking them through what it would cost and what the engagement might look like. If you have an understanding of what they want with the moon, you can break that down into, well, maybe I'll use the analogy of the stars. Okay. So they
Yeah.
want the stars, right? But you're going to give them some planets,
Mhm.
right? And you're gonna say, well, planet 1 looks like this, planet 2 looks like this. Here's the potential scope. Here's what that might cost, da, 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 right? Because otherwise they think they can get all this. You're like, no, actually it's this, this, and this, but these other planets that's Jupiter. That's way too far for us. We can look more towards Mars and Venus, right? That's a little closer to home. Maybe that kind of thing might work for you.
You know, I was gonna add, when I first got into this, Ann, I had a lot of friends in my area of Target, which was the association community, and they would call and we would talk, you know, and it took me a while to figure
Remember
out
that.
just exactly what Shara was saying,
Mhm.
that they were actually, they wanted the moon, like Mike said, they want everything. But because, you know, we were in this nice conversation, they were getting information, my property, what I sell, essentially for nothing. And what
Yeah.
I had to learn to do was what Shara mentioned. And in addition to that, when they want the world, I have learned to give them a multifaceted proposal.
Yeah.
In other words, we can start here and then we can go to this and this and this. And you put dollars and cents to that and timelines and so forth and so on. And to my shock and surprise, they said, "Oh yeah, that makes sense," you know, because they couldn't in their own mind
Right.
structure it.
Right.
They had this big thing. So one of your jobs, I think, or our jobs when we're in the selling part of it, is we have to help them understand exactly what the product is, what they get for X amount of dollars for what period.
Yeah.
And it really has worked marvels for me. So it's excellent advice, and I think that that's one way of dealing with this. They want the world. Here's part 1,
Yeah.
part 2, or proposal 1, or module 1 and module 2.
Yeah.
Module 2, however it is that you can structure it that you're comfortable with in the way you want to do business with somebody.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
most clients actually want the moon, but they don't even know that it's the moon. They just
Yeah.
have these big goals. They'll say, I want more fill in the blank. I want more
Yep.
publicity. I want more.
Yep.
And wait. A good phrase, Dan, is here's what I can do for you.
Mhm.
Here's what
Mhm.
I can do. I can
Yeah.
help you with this,
Mhm.
with this, and with this. And then when we put those things together, it will lead you toward this big, ambitious thing you have. But
Mhm.
first, we got to eat these bites of the elephant. Sorry to mix metaphors, but you know, like, right? You gotta really just sort of step them through, because they, like to Michael's point, they don't know. They don't know what they don't know, and that's why they're
They
talking
really
to
don't
you.
know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know, and
Yeah.
that's why they're talking to you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And so those are, and you know, you can package it a lot of different ways. You can do different components of it, just like Shira and Michael mentioned. You can bundle some things. You could maybe give them the whole Moon and the Stars program, and you can do kind of a small, medium, large kind of a thing. And there's just a lot of different ways you can go with that. And if they are balking at price or different things, you just probe to find out what the concerns are, you know, as opposed to just thinking, you know, oh, my price is too high. It's like, well, why do you feel that way? Well, my price is high compared to what? You have to ask some questions too. And you're just asking to understand, you're seeking to understand. So we talked a little bit about marketing first. We talked about sales. We talked about the purpose of marketing and building your brand and educating. Here's some examples of different things you can do, but you definitely want a marketing strategy, a marketing plan. You want to understand the client, your client, the client you're looking for, and build a program and strategy against that. And then with sales, you know, you want to be more consultative than transactional. Definitely need a sales plan and process. You want a plan that consists of good, smart goals, and just remembering that the sales process starts with, you know, building that relationship, understanding the need, putting together a program that addresses those needs, and then closing the business. And there's some great questions throughout each of that, you know, throughout that process. And again, you're wanting to be a problem solver. So you're wanting to be more of a problem solver, more of a detective, less of a high pressure sign on the dotted line. Let's do this deal now. More understanding what a client's looking for and delivering that. Because when you do that, it's you get so much satisfaction. The client gets so much satisfaction because they feel like you've heard them and you've provided those resources to them. So I just think that when you do it the right way, it's a beautiful thing. It's a great relationship. So really, the whole idea of this time today was to really understand what marketing and sales are, understand that, you know, they're both very important in business. It's not an either or. You need both. Understanding the differences in both, and really kind of looking at your business and understanding what your needs are. Do you need more help with marketing? Do you need more help with sales? And what are those things that you need help with? And you definitely want plans and strategies for both. And you really want to be able to help your client and help your business grow. So you want to utilize, you know, the resources that are around you, you know, people like Michael, people like Shira, folks that can help your business out. You know, understand where you are right now within your business. And then when you think about marketing and networking and all those things, and when you think of sales and you know, revenue and growth, what is it that you need for your business?
And I also want to commend Mike to you as well, because Mike is a small business coach. And I know, Mike, you're going to have your contact information up soon. So we do commend you to work with Mike as well.
Well,
I was going to ask you, Mike, as part of the summary here, a large number of the people in the BoomerWorks family are people just getting started out, learning to be business people, entrepreneurs for themselves.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if in your work with various clients, have you noticed one or two challenges that new people to the world of business marketing and sales often fall into? What are those one or two challenges? I know you've given us a wonderful piece to work from here, but
yeah,
from your own world, what are those challenges that you most frequently see?
getting started. You know, there's so many moving parts to a business, as you know, Michael. You know, there's sales, there's marketing, there's operations, leadership, you know, implementation, lots of different things. And we can cripple ourselves sometimes when we're thinking of all that stuff. And so, just like Shira said, because I use that a lot too, eat the elephant one bite at a time. Most businesses like to start with the marketing or the sales or both. Well, you start off with a great plan for your business. Where are you going with it? What do you want this business to be 1 year down the road, 3, 5 years? And then when you think about, you know, marketing, again, you know, really having a good strategy, picking apart, okay, what am I trying to do? Who's my client? And really putting that together. And I think sometimes when I'm talking with people, Michael, they want to get to the tactical part. They want Google ads, or they want to, you know, they want to start with the tactic without knowing, okay, first, what are you trying to do? Who are you trying to touch? Where are you trying to touch them? And, you know, what kind of budget, what kind of resources do you have? So starting with some of that. And then with sales, again, I think that there's that misnomer that, you know, sales is a dirty word, and people that are really good at it are not. It's not great for the client because they're taking them down a road they may not want to go down. And that's just not the case. When I work with ExxonMobil, when I work with Coca-Cola, you know, the best thing that one of my clients could say is Mike's a resource. Mike is part of my team. That's the best thing that I think anybody can say about a salesperson, is that they're a part of their team, because they get that person is wanting them to win. And it doesn't mean that Coca-Cola has to lose if I'm working with a client and I'm providing the resources to them. We can work that win-win.
Mike, can you go back a slide? You had a very nice quote on this. I think it was the slide right before this. One more back, one more back, and one more back. There you go. At the bottom, oops, sorry, one more down, forward. Nope, sales process, keep going, forward. Yeah, right there. So you said sales is about, and if I could like put a marker here, like a little highlighter, I'd highlight this. Sales is about building relationships and solving problems.
Yep.
With your products and services. It's not about convincing clients to buy your products or services.
Exactly.
Very, very, like I'd like put that in neon lights.
Yeah. And, even with, when businesses start and kind of adding on to what Michael was asking about, businesses will say, well, I got a market, I got a network, so I'm going to join this networking group. And they're so focused on, I got to join these groups so I can get more business, get more business, get more business. And when you're like that, people can feel and see that. When really you say, well, I got a network because I want to build relationships, and I want to build relationships with these people. I want them to understand what I do and why I do it. And I'm going to educate them on my products and services. The byproduct of that is going to be referrals and more business. It's not, give me more business, because it would be like, you're going out on a first date and you're saying, hey, will you be my friend for life? Or will you marry me, before you even know who that person is? And so it's the same thing in business. You're going to meet with somebody and you're going to try to sell them on your products, and they don't know who you are, where you've been, what you're doing, and you don't know anything about them. So you want to take some time to build those relationships. And really, I think the byproduct of the good relationships is the sales and the business growth. That's how I look at it. And I think it works out better when you work it that way, and people feel like you're more genuine.
And if I can give a personal example of that, I never forget this. So Michael knows, Michael Butera and I are both in the association community, and Michael knows that I start networking groups for fun. This is kind of what I do. I love bringing people together. And there was this group that I started many years ago for association CEOs. And we used to meet in person pre-pandemic. And all I would do is I would just facilitate a discussion. Okay. I didn't oversell. I was just there to lead a discussion and help them solve their problems, right, with each other.
Yep.
And we met on a regular basis. Anyway, one day, several years later, I got a call from, or reach out from one of the group members, Jennifer. And we started talking, and she, actually wanted to do some business with me. And I said, so I don't know why I even asked her this. I said, Jennifer, what was it that kind of made you decide to finally start working with me? Because I'd known her for a long time. She goes, she said, because I trust you. She said, when you would lead these groups, you were really there for us. You were there to help build community and to educate and facilitate. You didn't oversell anything. I never sold actually hardly at all. People knew what I did. But that was never a part of the conversation. She said, I could trust you, that you were really in it for us.
Yep.
And that's why I want to give you this business. And I was like, it was so profound to me, because so often we, in sales or in small business, people, we make it about us. Like, well, I've got a product, I've got a service, I've got this that you want. No, they have needs. And our job is to help them fulfill their needs. And so often the ways that we can do that is through educating, thought leadership, convening groups, public speaking for free, all these different things. We're just giving, being what's called a go-giver. Give to people. And when they see that you're doing it for the right reasons, that you see that you're doing it to actually genuinely help them, not to line your pockets, but to help them fulfill their needs, that's when the trust is built. And that's when they're going to trust you with their business, because they know that you care about them, not just their wallet.
Yeah. And so when you're starting a business, that should be the idea. What's the need that you're trying to fulfill? How are you going to serve? What are you really about? And really understanding that, and building your marketing around that. And you hit it on the head with the networking. that's a peeve of mine when somebody just, you're at a networking event and they just walk right
Stick a
up to
card
you.
in your face.
Yeah, and they hand you a business card. That's like the worst, that's the worst, so really, trying to find out who people are first, and hearing their story and understanding something about them first before you even think about telling them about you and your products and services.
And
Yeah, this falls right into that line. I had been in touch with this individual. He'd heard me speak at conferences and all of that. I'd followed up with all due diligence, never heard back from him. 4 years later, remember me? Now I really need your help.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plant a seed.
You never know, what that timing's going to be.
Yeah.
But you're always planting, you're planting the seeds. And like you said, people will get to know you, like you, and trust you. And
one day it's going to sprout, right?
That's right.
That
That's
those
right.
roots were growing underground. You can't see them.
Yeah.
But one day, when the harvest is right, when the season is right, it'll pop up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some key questions just to ask yourself is, what are those differences in sales and marketing? Do you understand them? What do you need the most in your business? Are you more comfortable with marketing? Are you more comfortable with sales? Do you need help in both? And what areas in marketing and sales do you need help with? Is it more of the strategy and planning piece? Is it more of the execution piece? What are some of the things you need? With sales, I think a lot of times, even people that I talk to that have been in sales a long time, they don't have a formal process, or they haven't read a sales book, or they haven't done any formal sales training. And so really kind of understanding the art part of sales and the science part of sales, okay, and being able to work through a process from the relationship piece down to the presenting the proposal and closing the business. And what concerns do you have relative to marketing or sales? What are some other challenges? And along with these questions, what resources are out there for you? Because you've got resources right here on this call. There are plenty of people around you that, maybe business owners that have gone through what you're going through, or maybe can help you out so that you don't have to, repeat mistakes that other people have made. So really kind of understanding your current reality and where you sit with your business, understanding what your needs are, and then going out and getting the resources to help you thrive, because that's what you're looking to do with your clients, is provide resources to them. So understanding from your business perspective, where are you at, what's your current reality, what don't you know, and what do you need? Questions, comments around that at all?
There's a lot here for people to chew on, Mike, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that you're going to have this available so that they can go back and you can grab this slide or any of the other slides and make notes and again, you can't really solve problems that you don't know you have. So you really got to, dig deep and ask yourself some questions, which is fine. In terms of next steps, take something away from this, whether it's from the marketing perspective or the sales perspective. You definitely need a strategy and plan for both. Take something away that you can do. And I don't mean, I know there's a lot to chew on here. And so don't get overwhelmed and not do anything. But over the next 24 hours, maybe think about something you can do, whether it's, going out on LinkedIn and filling out a profile and getting that going, or, think about your marketing and build yourself an outline of, what you currently have and what you don't have, so that you know what your next steps need to be. Focus on developing those relationships. If you're thinking about your business, who are some potential clients or some referral partners that you don't know that maybe you need to start building a relationship for, and have a winning attitude. Go out there and win. You know, when I work with clients, we always start off with, you know, what wins have you had in the last 30 days? You know, and then we talk about what challenges have you had, because we learn from a lot of challenges, and what have you learned? You know, and a lot of times we learn a lot of stuff when we fail. So, and that, you know, that's okay to learn, you know, but understanding that you're moving forward, you've got some wins there. There might be some challenges, some things you need to tune up, but just learn and keep moving forward.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep. And there's some contact information, website, email.
Make sure to grab that.
Yep.
People
Reach
would love-
out to me.
Would
Reach
love
out
to follow up with you. Would love to follow up with you.
Yeah.
A lot of
yeah,
good stuff.
absolutely.
And also make sure that you, Mike, can you let them know how they can find you on LinkedIn so that they can get your little Thursday talk videos?
Yeah, LinkedIn, it's the growth coach of capital NOVA, the growth coach of Nova. Look that up. You should be able to find me right there. On Facebook, it's the growth coach of Northern Virginia. And then the Facebook group that I have, which is free, it's called Strategic Business Owner. So if you search for Strategic Business Owner, that'll come right up. And you know, it's a private group, but I'll give you access.
And you're also on YouTube.
And I'm also on YouTube doing videos. Yep.
That's great. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Mike, again. And I'm going to actually share my screen one more time here.
Yep.
I'm
Let
gonna,
me stop. Yep.
Yep. And I will going to make sure we bring you guys back to BoomerWorks and remind you of how to connect with us and where you can find things on our site. So boomerworks.org, and a couple things. So go back to the Training Center tab right here, drop down to Marketing Your Business. And then down here, you're going to see a whole bunch of videos from all of our educational programs. And this presentation will be in this list soon. And then at the very bottom here, you'll see the downloads, and his PowerPoint will be one of these, actually probably the last one down at the bottom here. Okay, so you can find that. And then also make sure to continue to check out on our meetups page, our upcoming events. So this was today's presentation. And then down at the bottom, we have for 2022, 2023, we're booked all the way out through July. Yep. So
Nice.
We got all kinds of great programs. And then also make sure to hit our join button and join our community so you can get our monthly promotionals, which is just to share with you the educational programs. Promise we won't spam you, but we do want to make sure that you're part of our part of our community. Okay. So we wish everybody a blessed evening. Thanks for joining us, and we will hopefully see you all soon.
Thanks, Shira. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Bye-bye.